Yeah, quarantine has been kind of a crazy. I have a job where I get to be essential. I get to go and I get to travel.
You are essential, sir.
I get to go to work and do that. And you know, we've got the thermal camera now, so as you come in, they can see if you're too hot or if you're running a fever or anything like that. So I just like put on my mask on the way in and I stand there and they tell me my temperature. It also lets me go ahead and do like some different shopping and stuff when we need something. You know, Katey will do like pickup orders and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And if you forget something, and it's just easy for me to swing through and pick up like one thing or another thing, because I'm already going to go through decontamination here, where I'm like stripping down outside.
I make him do that.
Yeah,
literally, I'm like, okay, you're in the mud room or the room outside of our house, and it's like, you're gonna strip down. Totally fine. No one can see anything.
I wouldn't care if someone could. They know what's up.
Just take off your shoes, go shower, like literally, just in case. You never know.
Yeah. And I mean, I'm very good about washing my hands, not touching my face. It's I take it as like a challenge to like not touch my face, so I can work through it.
The hardest challenge of all.
I've noticed this really funny thing in my past few like stops, and the first one was I had to pick up a new microwave, and so I waited at the hardware store.
Oh yeah.
And it was packed. Like,
what are people doing there?
It was just straight packed. And in our area, we've got a stay-at-home order. And the first few weeks, you know, there was like no traffic on the road. It was like very, very easy to get around, and just it was like an apocalypse. It felt like I was Mad Max. And then it's kind of started to get more and more traffic as stuff starts to ease up more and more.
And people get more comfortable, kind of, or they need to go out.
But this was during the Mad Max time. This was like when nobody else is around, everyone was at the hardware store. They're all at Lowe's. And it was packed, and there's Lowe's people with like sticks, like making sure people are like 6 feet across.
No way, they had like poking sticks?
Not like poking, but like measuring sticks.
Really?
And, like, they got little things on the ground and stuff.
I haven't experienced that yet with the sticks. I've seen the tape.
We have giant cardboard cutouts of various animals at my job that people walk around with to make sure people are 6 feet across. Because 6 feet's like the average length of a llama. And a dolphin and a certain kind of shark. And so we've got all these animals that walk around to make sure people are 6 feet across.
I just imagine 2 of my arm lengths. Okay.
Yeah, basically. Like if you reach out your hand and the other person reaches out their hand and you can touch fingertips, that's about as close as you want to get.
Yeah.
Because that way all your mucous membranes are still 6 feet away from each other. But there are so many people at the hardware store. And it's to the point where like the hardware store, and Katey can attest to this. I pulled a picture of it because it was so funny to me.
I saw we went there.
To zoom in on these?
We went there one time together because we have various projects that we're working on that we can talk about later. But we were driving in and I saw this exact same thing. I wonder if you can pull it up.
Yeah. So we. Oh no!
I think Blaine done gone fixed it.
Okay.
This is like the worst clapping audio I could have found. There you go. Good job. You're amazing.
Thank you. I work hard. Yeah, so obviously the reason that it's packed, right, is that there's a ton of like projects, like Mom Mary was saying. You know, it's good therapy. Plus, here's my theory. You know, you've got the season, right? So it's springtime. So obviously it's like a good time to get out and do things. You also have everybody stuck at home with nothing else to do. So that laundry list of things that you've been like neglecting, suddenly, you know, you can not neglect because you're stuck at home. So it's like, oh, I finally have to replace that cupboard, or I have to fix that lighting fixture that I've been staring at. But I've worked hard at work today, so I'm gonna go rest. But not anymore. Now you
excuses.
You know, you're stuck at home, so you're gonna get all these projects done. And so that's my theory as to why the hardware stores are all packed. And I think exactly, no excuses.
No excuses.
I think because this picture here doesn't really tell you the whole story. Half of the parking lot, would you say, is filled with those pallets,
if not more.
I think in order to reduce the foot traffic in the store, they have removed half the parking lot.
know about that because literally the half that's not full of stuff, there's not that many cars.
When you and I were there,
to me,
but 2 weeks before when I had to go pick up that microwave,
it
was packed.
Wow.
I drove around to find a parking spot because I was not going to park over at Fry's and walk all the way across.
Really? Wow.
I had to like circle for a spot to find a spot. And so I think, yes, they're bringing in more stuff because they're like, oh, people are going to want more of this stuff. That makes sense. But it's all just dirt. It's all just potting soil. It's all just these big, bulky things. And I think they're reducing the footprint of their parking lot to help reduce the number of people that can be inside and mingling and waiting and sitting around.
All right, well, that's not a bad theory.
Yeah.
And if that is the case, if that's what they're doing, way to be sneaky. Just saying. Way to be a sneaky McSneaker.
A sneaky Sneckers.
So, speaking of like home projects and, just working outdoors because you're kind of sick of staying inside, you want to make your outdoors a little bit more beautiful. I've been trying to mow the lawn lately. We have a large side of our lawn and then the one next to our house. We have a ride-on lawnmower. I did the entire thing on the back side, the huge large lawn. And then, of course, as soon as I got to our side of the house, the lawnmower decides to die.
Yeah.
And the weed whacker today I tried to use, and Blaine
it needs a deep cleaning or something.
Yeah.
I'm not sure what's wrong with that.
And the weed whacker doesn't really want to participate in doing all this stuff either. Neither do I. So I'm not going to do it this week, but we're going to borrow our neighbors. Anyway, so we're doing some gardening projects, that's for sure.
That's a lead in for the fact that you've got gardening on the mind. But yeah, no, we're doing some repotting of things that we already had, and then we picked up some new things because there's little things, right? Like when we want to do like taco night, and we only need like a few sprigs of cilantro, and we end up going out and we buy an entire like bunch of cilantro, which is great, but it goes bad in like 3 days. So you end up with like the few sprigs you need. And then the whole thing like melts, we already were. It does. Have you seen it when it's like
it disintegrates to like brown
like
mush.
Brown putty? It's so gross.
So nasty.
And we were doing the green onions in a cup because we do like a lot of miso soup and stuff that is really good for the green onions. Yeah, sludge, total sludge,
so
Mom.
Sludgy.
And so we already were doing the green onions in the cup. And so I was like, oh, why don't we just have all the little herbs that we use occasionally but often enough in like a bucket? So we've got a nice little like herb bucket that we're starting.
Oh yeah,
and here's our herb bucket.
Ooh,
so we have herb bucket up here that's got green onions, cilantro, some mint. And we've got like a jalapeno starting in there because I also love jalapenos. We're starting some seeds here in these little egg trays.
And the most important one,
wisteria.
That's my wisteria plant. So Blaine, just being the wonderful, cute, adorable husband that you were.
That was the day that it was packed at the hardware store.
Yes. Well, yeah,
that
just
was packed day.
Packed! Blaine knows I really love wisteria just because the way the vines twine up and they get all kind of twisty, and then the flowers actually just like this perfect purple color and they fall down. This looks really romantic and beautiful and I love it. So we tried to do one from a seed, or it was like a very, very small seedling.
It was like
a couple years ago.
It was like a seedling, I would say, because it's had a little bit of a vine stick on it.
It was so tiny, and we tried it, and it died in the winter. So it was a sad investment. But then, so Blaine got this one. It's more of a full size plant.
Yeah, it was already like a couple feet tall, so we're able to like start there.
Yeah, it's looking
and then
great.
We've got our hydrangea that is like my great grandmother's hydrangea that. This thing will survive an atom bomb. It lived in a garbage bag next to our garage for a long time growing out.
That's
not our garage.
Wait,
no, I'm talking about growing up. Like when I was a kid, like we had it in a straight up garbage bag, like a big black leaf garbage bag next to a garage until we could finally plant it. And then when we finally planted it, it took it a couple seasons to flower because it's got to recover from that, but it did. Awesome. And I've already seen new growth on it this year. And then I've got this big dragon dealie that's full
bucket.
we're
It's just
gonna
full
do
of water?
a water lily, and I thought it was so hilarious that the water lily has this like little floating piece on it, and
You can find it.
And then when we finally opened it up and read it, it's like, oh, this is your locator. And it dawned on me that most people would plant like a lily or something in a
big pond.
like a big pond or a someplace you can't see the bottom, and so you would be like, well, it's in there, like so having a string attached to a little floater was perfect.
Yeah, but for this purpose, I mean, you can clearly see the bottom of the
Yeah, for our purposes, it's just funny so that I know what that coconut shaped thing is.
That thing, that's a plant thing.
Yeah. It's a big plant.
Big plant. Yeah, so I have like a black thumb. I do not have a green thumb. I kill plants. But lately, just Blaine's been kind of in more of this gardening mode, and so I'm just like, I really want to contribute and help you with that. So I think you're making me appreciate. I've always appreciated plants. Don't get me wrong. I need them to breathe. Thank you, plants, for that. Oxygen.
Right.
But I don't really appreciate the process of gardening necessarily. So I'm learning to do that in quarantine.
Well, and that's
nice.
Understandable. Like the process of gardening is like it's very intensive. I see it a lot like cooking,
you get sweaty.
where like it takes time and effort, and you're doing prep work, and then you're actually doing the work of the final like product creation, and then you get to enjoy it, right?
Exactly.
And so like I was out there with the tarp mixing different soils together to get a good potting mix.
What an alchemist
and
you
then
are.
Yeah, I mean practically. Making a little mandrake.
Yeah, you got like your little test tubes. Like, it's the perfect ratio of dirt. 17.8%, potting soil.
No, I made potting soil.
Yeah, you did make potting soil.
Peat moss and steer manure and topsoil.
Wow.
Anyway.
Nerd.
Yeah, garden nerd. Anyway, you put the time in for all the prep work and everything, and then you, as you're watering it, that's sort of like the cooking process, and like pruning it, that's your cooking process where you're getting the things together, and then when you finally get to harvest whatever it is. And I mean, some of them are instant, right? Like as soon as you put a green onion in the ground, you can pull it out and use it, then put it back in, I
put it in the dirt, I'll pull it back out.
Yeah, I'll pull it out. I'll pull it out, I use it, I'll put it back in.
Put it back in. Yeah, the nubbins you put right back in the dirt.
Yeah, exactly.
Excellent.
It's so easy.
Perfect. Well, now I know what to do.
You just pull it out, chop it up, put it in.
Put it in. All right, we'll have to make a green onion song. Put it in the dirt. Take it out the dirt. Use it. Put it back in.
You don't have that brown of a thumb, though.
I think I do.
And it's a brown thumb, not a black.
I've killed a wisteria. I've killed.
Well, you killed a sapling wisteria that was out of season.
Anyway.
That's totally a thing.
Let's not linger on my bad qualities, shall we?
All right.